In this video, we will go through how to approach the specification of requirements. We will talk about both the functional and non-functional requirements. We will look at the theory, and I will try to give some reasoning behind the theory. And then I will show some examples. First of all, I would like, instead of calling them non-functional requirements, I would like to call them product requirements. It's not just me, but many others also call them functional and product requirements. So for me, a functional requirement is something that specifies what the system should do. It's always something that is either fulfilled or not fulfilled. Also, usually these features, these functional requirements are given by the customer. The product requirement, on the other hand, describes how the system should do it. So it's a quality attribute with varying degrees of fulfillment. Typically, you specify the degrees of fulfillment using a number or a range. So these are linked. And this linking is something you are doing in your house of quality method, which I will present in a later video. I want to come back to the reasoning why we split these requirements. And I will be honest, many engineers don't split them. They don't see a reason for it. I believe there's a reason, because it makes your specification of requirements more operational. First of all, some will argue you're splitting them because it gives you an overview. So you have the functional Boolean requirements, and then afterwards come the product requirements. And splitting always gives you a better overview. In your project process, you can also use this splitting. So what I would do is I would start talking about what are the features that need to be fulfilled by this product that you are designing. After you have these features defined, the functional requirements, you can define, okay, how well should they be fulfilled? One thing is that it has Wi-Fi, but how fast should it be? What latency should it have? Stuff like that. So these are the quality attributes. Further, by splitting the functional and the product requirements, you can put them in the house of quality method. And this actually enables you to see if there are some requirements you have forgotten. So you can use your functional requirements once they are split to see, okay, are there product requirements that are addressing each of these functional requirements, and if there's not, then a requirement is missing. The next distinguishing factor is that during testing, the verification and also the documentation requirements are quite different for functional requirements compared to product requirements. For functional requirements, well, either it's fulfilled or not fulfilled, but for the product requirements, it's a varying degree of fulfillment. You have some numbers that you're measuring up against, so you need to find out how well does it fulfill the product requirement, and then from that, what scoring does your product get? Okay, now to give you some examples to make it easier for you to see this is a functional requirement, this is a product requirement. Okay, so one functional requirement I already mentioned was Wi-Fi. It has Wi-Fi. That's a functional requirement. It's a Boolean. Either it has it or it doesn't. Associated product requirement would be, for example, the range. So the wireless connection has a range of 500 meters. So we have a number associated. And better degree of fulfillment would be it has a wireless range of 1,000 meters. Another example is it has a warning light. Opposite to this, the product requirement would be the warning light should be visible from 100 meters away. You could also have it should be visible from this many degrees. Those are all product requirements. It's varying degrees of fulfillment. Another example is if the robot gets stuck, send a message to the user. Now, the product requirement for that could be if the robot gets stuck, it should send a message within 1 hour. The underwater robot should be able to operate in Greenland all year round. Now, that's a very broad functional requirement. This is more than one requirement in one. So, as for the product requirements, we have the robot should be able to be stored in air temperatures between -20 degrees Celsius up to +10 degrees Celsius. So here you have a span. That's just the temperature. Then you have the robot should be able to operate in water temperatures from -1.5 degrees Celsius to +5 degrees Celsius. And then you have a third requirement, for example, it could be the relative humidity. It should be able to operate in relative humidities from 10 to 90% relative humidity. This one functional requirement, and it's often this way, spawns multiple ranges of product requirements that give varying degrees of fulfillment. So I hope these examples make it easier for you to distinguish, is this a functional requirement, is this a product requirement, and you got an explanation of why do we even split it. Thank you.